Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast with host Robert A. Lane features everything you need to know about narrating your audiobook, but it doesn't stop there. We have special guests lined up from all aspects of the book publishing industry, and we also dive deep into what it takes to be mentally prepared for success as an author and in life. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
And hello, my friends. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I am your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Maybe this is the first time you're tuning in. Welcome. Welcome to the podcast. I am an audiobook coach and producer. That's what I do for a living, something I love doing. And I help nonfiction authors. If you're a nonfiction author, welcome. And this is the perfect show for you because I help you as a nonfiction author turn that great published book of yours into an audiobook that you as the author narrate. I have an audiobook coaching program, which is called Your Book, Your Voice. There we go. And I take you through the process of setting up your own recording space, how to do a great narration, and then getting you published by the end of the 6-week program. So yeah, you can actually record, narrate, and be published in 6 weeks. You really can do it. And you do have the time to do it. And we're going to talk about time. That's one of the things that we are going to talk about on today's show, being the topic is dispelling audiobook myths. And time is one of them, which, as I say, we'll dive into that in just a bit. But again, I want to welcome you. Before I started doing coaching, which it's been over 4 years now that I've been officially a coach, I worked in the entertainment business and still have an audio production company that I do post-production audio for film, TV, and voiceover work and all sorts of audio-related things that I do in the business, and I've been doing that business has been going on for over 22 years, and I've been in the entertainment business. I worked in the business for over 30 years. So you're getting that experience if you do work with me as your audiobook coach and producer. So anyway, that's what I do. It's a little bit of background of what I used to do, but I love doing what I'm doing now. And I love doing this podcast as well because we are streaming live, by the way, on the Bold Brave TV network. And I love doing the live stream. The replays are great, that's true, but the live stream is fun and exciting because you can get involved. You can post comments, you can ask questions, and it's very interactive. So I love that. And this is why I love doing the initial podcast live. And you can, again, type any comments into the chat. Would love to hear from you, and you can tell me about your book, and maybe again if you have any questions about the audiobook world. And also you can give us a call here on the podcast as well. There's a number there that's on the screen, and you can call us at 1-866-451-1451. Again, that number is 866-451-1451 to join the show, and we'd love to speak with you live. There you go. So again, the topic is dispelling audiobook myths. Before we dive into this, though, I do want to do one thing, and that is let you know that for everybody who tunes in, you can get a little freebie. I love giving freebies. So I have an audiobook narration reference guide. So please download this. It's a great PDF reference guide where I share some really cool tools and techniques on how to do a great audiobook narration. So it's a free guide. It's something that I love to give to you. Just go to the link that's there on the screen. The link's also in the description as well. And again, for the replays, if you are listening to the show without seeing the video, the link is bit.ly/narration reference guide. That's bit.ly/narration reference guide. And if you do, by the way, have any questions about the audiobook coaching program that I teach, and I'd love to speak with you about that, your first and simple step is to schedule a call with me. And you can do this with the link that's on the graphics on the screen now. And for those of you who are maybe just hearing the audio portion, that is another bit.ly link, bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. And if you click that link, you'll schedule a call with my personal calendar, and I would love to talk with you about your book, tell you more about the audiobook coaching program. And if it resonates with you, we'll get you enrolled and you can have an audiobook done in 6 weeks. Pretty cool. All right. So let's dive into our topic for today, dispelling audiobook myths. And there are a lot of them. But the first thing that I want to start with is this. You are not a hobbyist. That is a myth. That is a false belief. That is a misconception because you are a published author. You wrote your book, you did all the work, you put your blood, sweat, and tears into creating this great book that you have now published. You got this great nonfiction book out there in the world for people to read, whether it's in ebook form or paperback or hardcover, it's out there. You are now a professional. You are not a hobbyist. So welcome to entrepreneurship. You are an entrepreneur. And so my biggest advice to you is this: embrace your professionalism, embrace your entrepreneurship, embrace the fact that you are an author brand. You are a brand. And now your book, your ebook, paperback, hardcover, and when you do your audiobook, you're going to add that as your arsenal of great product that you have to offer to the world as part of your author brand. So let's dispel that myth. You are not a hobbyist. It doesn't matter if maybe you write for a living, which is great. Love that. However, a lot of authors have other jobs. Maybe they do run their own business. Maybe it's something that has nothing to do with the book that they've written about. Or maybe you have a 9-to-5 job, or sometimes people work 10 hours or 12 hours a day. That's your day job. Okay, that's fine. But you wrote your book. Maybe you did it in the wee hours of the morning. Maybe you wrote it on weekends. Whatever you did, you were dedicated enough to write and publish a great book. So now you are a published author. It doesn't matter that you've had it, that if you have a day job, so what? You're still a professional writer now. You have the book and a published book to back that up, to prove that you are an entrepreneur. So embrace it, okay? Embrace your entrepreneurship. Love your author brand. You are a brand, and now your book is your product. Love it, embrace it, because that is you, and don't ever call yourself a hobbyist. All right, so let's just dispel that myth right off the top, okay? The second thing that I want to share with you, and I've heard this several times throughout my coaching career, and that is, people have told me, whether it was another author or just some other people, about this myth, and it is a myth. They say, you know what, you have to read a book. Reading a book is the only way that you're going to really be able to absorb and understand and comprehend and even retain all the information, excuse me, that's in that book. That is a myth, because there have been studies that have proven that those who read a book versus those who listen to an audiobook, guess what? The retention level and the comprehension level is the same. Excuse me while I take a drink of water. Got a little tickle in my throat. What can I say? And that's part of the excitement of doing something live, right? But anyway, so again, embracing your entrepreneurship, right? And know that whether someone reads a book or whether someone listens to the audiobook, the retention level and the comprehension level is the same. You're using two different senses. And just because you're using two different senses doesn't mean that the comprehension and retention level is going to be different. That's not the case. It will be the same. And there's studies that have proven this. So let's dispel that myth. Another great thing about having an audiobook is that, and I do this a lot as well, is I will also purchase the ebook or the paperback. A lot of times it's the paperback because I like to listen to an audiobook, and especially if it has a lot of great information, I'll grab the paperback and just start highlighting, key points, maybe a quote or a phrase or something that really hits home for me. And I love hearing the author tell me that as they narrate their book, and be able to also visually read and to highlight those special items in that book that just jump out at me, which is a great thing for you as an author as well, because by having an audiobook, you also are exposing your brand to an audience that maybe didn't even know about you because they only listen to audiobooks. But it does help boost revenue because, again, people who buy audiobooks will, if they like what you do as an author, they're going to buy your other products and in the different formats that you offer your products in. So it's a really good thing. All right. Here's another myth that I want to dispel. And I've heard this again from other authors, and they don't do an audiobook because of this. So let's dispel this. My book is too old. I published my book, a couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even longer than that. What's the point of doing an audiobook? Well, that is actually the best reason to do an audiobook, because you're going to bring this book back to life. Why would you think that? Why would you think it's too old? It has value, and it still has value. If you've written a nonfiction book, 5 or 10 years ago, bring it back to life. Get it out there in the forefront of people's ears as an audiobook and eyes as a book. You can resurrect life back into a book that maybe you've written and published years ago. And that is a great reason to do an audiobook. So don't ever think that something you've written that may be old, that you think is old, or that people wouldn't be interested in. They will be. So give that book life, resurrect it back to life. Another phrase I say is, don't let it die on the vine, right? Bring it back to life, right? Don't let it die on the vine, turn it into a fine wine. I'll have to remember that one. I'll have to go back in the replays and listen to that. It'll be another catchphrase, I guess. But again, the point is, you have a great book, you have great material, bring it back to life. I mean, compare it to the music business, right? Let's do an analogy. How many times have you seen a band re-release an album and just repackage it in a new way, right? Box sets. How many times have the Beatles done that, or other bands, that have done that? But it's great because, again, it puts their product back into the public eye. And that's a great thing for you as an author, and your author brand is putting yourself back into the public eye. Maybe you're working on a book now. Maybe you're writing your second book or third book, and you've published a book, again, a long time ago. While you're writing your book now, let's turn that old book into an audiobook. And again, put you as an author, your author brand, back into the limelight so that people know, hey, I'm still here. I have this great book I did. Now I turned it into an audiobook. And guess what? I'm going to be releasing a new book in, whatever time frame that you're going to do it in. So it's another marketing tool, really, to turn that old book into a new book, in a sense, by turning it into an audiobook and generating interest in that again. So that's a good thing. Okay, now one more thing that I want to share. We'll be taking a break in a couple of minutes, but I do want to share this one, and it is time. And it's something I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. Time that is used as an excuse to not do your audiobook. And I hear authors say this as well. Takes too long. I don't have time. I'm way too busy. Okay, false belief, and that is a myth, and that is a misconception. All right, let's wrap our heads around the concept of time. All of us, everybody on this planet, we all operate on the same 24 hours a day. How you utilize your time is essential. And if you utilize your time properly, you can get it done. All right. There's a couple other things I want to share with you in regards to the time factor regarding getting your audiobook done, and how it does not take too much time and you can get it done no matter how busy you are. There's a couple stories I want to share with you. But I'll do that after we take this quick break. You are listening to the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook, or Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I got a million things happening in my mind. Good time to take a break. Thank you for tuning in. More great information coming your way. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. And again, stay tuned. We're going to wrap up what I want to say about time, and I have some more audiobook myths that we need to dispel. So don't go away.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
And welcome back to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching, and we are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Losing my voice, having to drink water, and all that crazy stuff. Well, that's part of being live. That's okay. Thank you again for joining. I'm an audiobook coach and producer, and we're talking about dispelling audiobook myths. We're talking about time, and I do want to dive into that. A couple of things I wanted to share with you regarding time as an excuse and how it is a myth, and we do need to dispel that. But before we do, again, I just want to remind you to please go ahead and download that free audiobook narration reference guide that I have to offer to you, which gives you some really cool pointers, some cool tips and tricks and tools to do a great audiobook narration, both from the practical side and the emotional side. So please feel free to download that free PDF download that I have to offer you there. We have the graphic on the screen. Again, that link is bit.ly/narration reference guide. And of course, you can go to my website at robertlanecoaching.com and download the guide there as well. Again, that's robertlanecoaching.com. And check out the website as well, because I have clips of authors who've gone through the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. And you can hear them do such a great job of narration. There's little snippets. But again, these are authors who are not professional speakers, but they sound fantastic. And they did such a great job on their audiobook. So make sure you check that out. All right, so let's get back into the topic of time. All right. Now, when I hear people say, I'm too busy, I had a client, an audiobook client, author, who had a business, was very busy, was traveling a lot, doing speaking engagements. But you know what? He still found the time to put aside to narrate his audiobook and do a great job. All right. You do have the time, and it just comes down to managing your time in a way where you can get it done. Now, I know that my audiobook coaching program is a 6-week program, and most authors have no problem getting their audiobook recorded, and we get it all prepped and ready for publication by the end of the 6 weeks. However, I know that some of you are busy and you do a lot of traveling, or you're doing things for your business, and that's okay. And the guarantee that I offer to every client, of course, is that I will work with you until your audiobook is done and ready for publication, hands down. So if it does take longer than 6 weeks, that's okay, because I don't want anybody to feel like there's a time constraint to have to get it done in 6 weeks. The program is designed so that you can do it in that time. But if you need more time, that's okay, because you know what? It's not about me, it's about you. It's about you doing the best possible audio narration that you can to create an awesome audiobook. All right. So even if you're busy, you do have time. And it's just about time management. And that's something that we talk about in the program that I teach. And I even hold you as part of, I'm your accountability partner, right? So I even hold you to allocating, that's the word I was looking for, allocating time to work on your audiobook. And I'm going to hold you to that. And if you do that, again, it's just basic time management. You can get it done. All right. So don't use time as an excuse to not do your audiobook. And I want to dispel that myth, because we all, again, have the same 24 hours in a day to do what we need to do. And it's just prioritizing your time, managing your time, and you can do it. And I can help you with that. All right. All right, so let's go on to another audiobook myth that we need to dispel. And this is one that some people still believe, and it's not true. And that is, it's just a straight verbatim read. Well, an audiobook is just, I'm taking my book and I'm just reading it verbatim, line for line, and that's all it is. That's not true, okay? Because when you write a book, you write it in a certain way that makes it easy for your reader to read, okay? When you're recording your audiobook, there may be times where you have to make adjustments so that it's better for the listener to absorb what you are saying. There's a better way of saying it, okay? Let me give you an example. So I'm going to go to my first chapter in my book. This is my book, Lights, Action, You, by the way. Which is available as an audiobook, of course. But with each chapter, I present a movie quote, okay? Now, if I read this verbatim, it wouldn't translate as well as an audiobook for someone to listen to than someone who's actually reading it, because it says, one, the chapter's called The Eyes Have It, then it has the movie quote, and then it goes on with the chapter. So reading it verbatim wouldn't sound so great. The Eyes Have It. Matt Hooper. It doesn't make much sense for a guy who hates the water to live on an island either. You know what I mean? It's like it's very stilted, right? You don't want to do that. So you do have the freedom to be able to change the way you do your narration so that it's better for the listener. So you would say chapter 1, for example, chapter 1, The Eyes Have It. This chapter starts with the quote from the movie Jaws, Matt Hooper, and then read the quote, et cetera, et cetera. So you can make adjustments in your book to make it easier and more enjoyable for the listener. And that's totally okay. All right. It's not a 100% verbatim read. I mean, even down to doing your opening credits, that can be very stilted if you just read it verbatim. Lights, Action, You, the guide to master your mindset, overcome work stress, and regain your personal freedom. Narrated by Robert A. Lane. Written by Robert A. Lane. Very stilted, very boring, and that's not how you want to start your audiobook narration, right? Put your stamp on it, your unique voice, your personality. You can do it, and you have the freedom to do that. All right. It's not a verbatim read. So, I could say Lights, Action, You, the guide to master your mindset, overcome work stress, and regain your personal freedom. Written by and narrated by me, Robert A. Lane. Put some personality into it. Okay. You can do it, and you have the freedom to do that. There are some audiobooks, for example. There's a great book by a radio DJ who wrote a book about his career, and he had snippets of music. He had snippets of some interviews that he did with some famous people that were on his radio show. You know what I mean? So you do have the freedom to not just do a verbatim read. Okay. Now, if you're thinking about, oh, I want to do music and I want to do this and I want to do that, the one piece of advice I do want to give to you is make sure it's enhancing the book experience. Okay. Don't just do it just to do it. I want to have music underneath my whole audiobook. Is that really enhancing and telling your story the way that you want it to be told? That's debatable. Okay. It's debatable. So when you make these executive decisions, because remember, you are an entrepreneur, you are a professional, which means that decisions like this are in your court. And my infamous catchphrase, of course, is you are the CEO of you. So the decisions that you make need to move your business forward and help you enhance your business. So maybe music will work for what you're doing for your specific book if it works, if it makes sense. 9 out of 10 times just doing a great narration is really all you need. Okay. So keep that in mind. But again, just to dispel that myth, hey, you don't need to read it verbatim. Most of the book, yes, it will be because you are reading and narrating your book the way you want people to follow along. But there are certain things that you can do to make it more enjoyable for the listener. So keep that in mind. And remember, it doesn't have to be a verbatim read. Okay. Now, here's something that it comes under the I'm cutting corners category. And that is, I don't need professional equipment. I'm going to record this myself, okay? Or I don't have to pay, thousands of dollars to rent or go to a recording studio. I can just do it myself and just get, a cheapy mic or, grab my phone and I have audio, notes. Just hit that and hit record. Doesn't work that way. That's cutting corners, okay? If you are going to do your audiobook and record it yourself, you got to be pro. You got to be pro all the way. Were you cutting corners when you wrote your book? I doubt it. Probably not. You put all the energy and heart and soul into writing a great book. You hired a great team of people. Maybe you had a great editor or a proofreader, or maybe you had somebody who can help you with story development, or a book coach, or formatter and cover designer. All these people that you put together as a team who can do it better than you to help you create this awesome book that you published. Same thing goes with your audiobook. So don't cut corners with your audiobook. You need professional equipment. And if you are enrolled and working with me in the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program that I teach, I send you the professional recording equipment that you need. And I don't mean, cheapy headphones, cheapy microphones. No, we're talking like $300-$400 worth of gear. And that is yours as part of the program, and you get to keep the equipment. It's yours to keep. So, hey, when you record your next audiobook, you have it. You got the proper equipment to do it. Or if you're a guest on a podcast, for example, and you're promoting your book and you're promoting your audiobook, you have great gear that you'll have to keep forever. And that's part of the program. I don't believe in cutting corners, and I won't do that to any author who works with me. You cannot cut corners. You got to do it right, and you got to do it right the first time, and you want to sound great, and you don't want to do cheapy equipment. All right. The other thing about going to a studio is they may be professional, but maybe they aren't recording your audio files to the exact specifications for publication, and that can be a problem. Okay, because you can record your audiobook and then you go and you submit it for publication on Audible, Amazon, Apple, or any of the other distribution platforms. And then they come back and say, we're rejecting your audiobook because it doesn't meet our specs. And that is just a soul crusher. You don't want that to happen. I've had a couple of authors, actually 3 or 4 authors who've already recorded their audiobook, and I had to go and do audiobook file repair, fix their files to make sure that they meet the specs for publication. Luckily, I was able to do it. bad case scenario with one of the authors. This is before he worked with me as well. It was on one of his previous books. He actually had to uh, go and spend thousands of dollars fixing the audio for his book because there were so many issues with it. And he supposedly went to a professional recording studio. So it happens. Now, obviously, in the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program that I teach, and I give you the equipment to help you set up your own recording space, we do it right. And you don't have to worry about any of those issues ever happening. But again, don't cut corners, right? That's the worst thing that you can do. Don't cut corners with your audiobook. Your ebook, paperback, hardcover, and audiobook are all on the same level as quality products for your author brand. Don't cut corners, all right? Let's see, what's another good, here's another one that kind of leads in from the last myth that I want to dispel is I can just, hit record and do it myself. I got voice memos on my phone. I could do it myself. You can, but again, you're going to run into the same problems as I just mentioned. Does it sound good? Does it meet the exact specifications? Some authors think, hey, you know what? I'm a speaker. I do speaking gigs all over the country. How hard can it be? I could just hit record and go. That is not necessarily the case. Now, I will say this. If you do speaking gigs and you're comfortable speaking in public, that's great. And that will definitely help you do a great narration. Those are some of the techniques that will help you in regards to doing an audiobook narration. But recording an audiobook and doing a speaking gig are really two different things. It's just a whole different game. Okay. So you do have some skills, but when it comes to recording your audiobook, it's a whole different mindset. Okay. And mindset is key. I just finished working with an author. She does speaking engagements all over the country. And she told me that after she did her audiobook, she goes, wow, I thought this was going to be so easy because I do speaking gigs. I'm out there talking to people all the time. But this really was a whole different ball game. And it was an eye opener for her. So, again, you can do it, but it's not as easy as you think. And the other thing that I also want to say is some people think they could just grab their book with no prep, no practice, and just rattle off a great narration. And, it's just with anything you do, especially when you're coming to doing creative things, okay? You have to practice. You do. Musicians practice all the time. That's why they're so great at what they do. That's why they can go out in concert and make it look effortless. Especially there's a jazz guitarist, Pat Metheny. Pat Metheny spends 6 hours a day recording and rehearsing. Okay. Or I shouldn't say recording, but rehearsing 6 hours a day. And that's what he does. That's part of his routine. And that's why he's as good as he is. And it's the same thing with an audiobook. Not that you need to spend 6 hours a day practicing, because you don't, you definitely don't. But if you're going to work on a chapter, practice that chapter, get into your zone, right? Lock it in, and then you're ready to hit the record button. All right. We're going to take a quick break. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. You can find out more about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer at robertlanecoaching.com. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. And again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat or give us a call. We'd love to speak with you. All right. Don't go away. More myths to dispel when we come back.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
It was almost instant, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, Belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
And we're back here on the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm Robert A. Lane, your host, with Robert Lane Coaching as an audiobook coach and producer, helping nonfiction authors turn that great book that you've published into an audiobook that you as the author narrate. We're talking about dispelling audiobook myths, and we're going to continue on with that. There's a few more I want to share with you. One of them is this, okay? Your audiobook, narrating your own audiobook is not a vanity play. And I talked to an author once, this was quite a while ago, and he told me, narrating your own audiobook is just an ego thing. It's a vanity. It's just a vain thing to do. And honestly, that's one of the most egotistical statements I've ever heard. And that is so not true. It's not a vain thing. It's not a vanity thing. That author's head is up his ego, not the place to come from. You don't come from an ego. You come from the heart. And the reason why all nonfiction authors need to narrate their own audiobook is because it's your story. And that's the one thing that he just did not grasp. It's your story. No one on this planet, no one in the universe can express, can speak, can tell your story better than you. You've lived it. You've written it. You've breathed it. You've put your unique stamp into your written word. Your unique voice is in your written word. No one can tell your story better than you. And that's why you need to narrate your own audiobook. And you can do it. Okay? You absolutely can do it. So this then again leads to the next myth I want to dispel, and that is thinking you need to have a perfect voice, right? So we're going with somebody who's talking about being vain and ego and overconfidence to now going to the other end of the spectrum of lack of confidence, of not believing in your voice, not thinking that you have a good voice, thinking that you have to be perfect sounding. And again, perfect sounding is still, there is no perfect sound, right? That's not true. It's just not true. It's still an opinion. You know what I mean? It's not black and white, it's this or that. No, it's not. Creativity is an opinion, okay? So what one person thinks sounds great, maybe another person doesn't think it sounds great, especially when it comes to music. I like this style of music. Oh, I hate that style of music. Both can be great, and they are great in their own genre, okay? When it comes to your voice, love that voice of yours. It doesn't need to be perfect, okay? Perfection is you. You are perfection. That's your author brand. Everything about you is your author brand. Your belief systems, your habits, your sense of humor, everything that makes you you, and that includes your voice. So loving your voice, embracing your voice, appreciating the lovely and awesome sound that comes out of your mouth, out of your body, you got to love it and you got to embrace it, okay? You don't need a perfect voice, all right? You don't need special skills that, take years and years and years to develop. You can do it 100%, all right? And a lot of it is confidence. A lot of it is mindset. Being in the right frame of mind and having confidence in your voice will put you at the level that you need to be to get into your zone to narrate a great audiobook. You can do it. So you don't need a perfect voice. You need your voice, your unique voice, no matter how you sound. My voice I'm losing my voice now, but it's a little fatigued today. However, this is my voice. This is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is how I express myself. And as a nonfiction author, you need to express and tell your story in your unique voice, figuratively and literally, because most people want to hear the author tell their story. I don't want to hear another narrator, tell someone's memoir or the adventures that they went through or the hard times or whatever the story is that they're sharing. I don't want to hear another narrator, especially if you're a coach or you are an entrepreneur or a teacher or an educator and you have a program or a service that you offer. Why would I want to hear another narrator tell me about your coaching program? Oh, that doesn't make sense. That's just mind-blowing. Why would you have someone else teach your product, right? Teach your service for you? Doesn't make sense, all right? Doesn't make sense, okay? So you do have the skills to do it, and you should do it, and there's nobody else that's better qualified, actually, for you to narrate your audiobook than you. You're it. You're the one. If you're a poet, do you want some other narrator narrating your poem? No, you should be the one narrating your own poetry. You should be the one telling your story. If you're a storybook writer, for example, let you express it in your unique style. That's what makes you unique, and that's what draws people to wanting to listen to your audiobook. And of course, when they hear you and they love what you do and they appreciate the style that you speak in, they're going to love reading your book, and that can also boost revenue for you by selling your ebook, paperback, and hardcover because they heard your audiobook, and vice versa. Someone maybe who bought your book and they're like, oh, wow, this author narrated their own audiobook now? Cool. I want to hear them tell their story. You definitely want to do that. So again, you don't need a perfect voice. You have the perfect voice. That's what makes you you. And remember, that's all part of your author brand. And again, the easy way out is to get another narrator to do it. Or, God forbid, AI. You're going to have an auto-generated fake voice represent your author brand? Big mistake. Don't cut corners, okay? Don't cut corners. You didn't cut corners when you wrote and published your book. You're not going to cut corners when you do your audiobook, okay? Now, there are great narrators out there, of course. Absolutely. I would have loved to have, Morgan Freeman or James Earl Jones or some great booming voice to narrate my book. But what's lacking is it's still their interpretation. It's not my interpretation. And the same thing for you. If you have somebody narrate your book, especially for nonfiction authors, how are they going to be able to interpret it the way that you had envisioned it? They're not. They're going to express and emphasize things the way that they are interpreting it. And maybe that's not the way you would do it. So it really is super important for you as a nonfiction author to narrate your own audiobook. All right. Okay, so let's move on to another myth. And that is, I could edit my audiobook myself. Piece of cake. It's easy. How hard is it really to edit my audiobook? So when you record your audiobook, just to give you a little background on the process, when you record your audiobook, you are doing it in sections. So for example, in my book, I have 14 chapters. Okay, there. 14 chapters are 14 audio files right there. Then you add the other components of your book, your opening credits, closing credits, introduction, if you have a foreword, prologue, epilogue, dedication, acknowledgments, and any other pieces of the puzzle that create your book. Those are all separate audio files, and that's how you record them. You do them in sections. Now, after your audiobook's recorded, you have to have your audiobook professionally edited, okay? it has to be cleaned up, it has to sound great, it has to, again, meet the exact specifications for publication. Because if it doesn't, your audiobook will be rejected on whatever distribution platform that you want your audiobook to be published on. And I've seen it happen time and time again. Don't let that happen, okay? All right. So, and again, if you are trying to find an editor, you better find somebody who has years and years of experience and knows what they're doing and understands not just how to cut and paste, but to really clean your files. And the one thing that I find with other editors is that they're not coaches. Okay, they'll say, "Oh yeah, that sounds good," but does it? Does it really? Are they really looking out for you and for your best interests? By not having that coaching experience. So that's why, again, it is important to have a coach to help you through the process, just like having a book coach or hiring, again, a great team of people when you did your book in the first place: editors, formatters, cover designers, proofreaders, story developers, all that stuff, right? To create your book, to do it right. Same thing with your audiobook. Get a team of people behind you. Have an audiobook coach to help you, because an editor isn't going to be enough to make sure they may make sure your book is meeting the right specifications, but there are other subtleties that need to be addressed. And a lot of even other book coaches who say, "Hey, I got an audiobook program now," they don't have the experience. Okay, that's just a whole other beast. All right, I do want to touch on this just a little bit more. We do have to take our last break. You are listening to the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching. There I go again. The Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I am Robert A. Lane, and just love doing it live because these are things that happen, but it's okay. It's okay. Keeps you on your toes. We will be right back. More myths to dispel. And again, we are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Again, thank you for joining us here. We are back on the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Go to robertlanecoaching.com to find out more about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. Again, the show today is Dispelling Audiobook Myths. Now, I was talking before we took the break about editors, and there's one thing that I've seen with other companies and editors who say, sure, I'll edit your audiobook. And, they either run your audio files through a restoration and cleanup, program. But that's about it, right? And then maybe they adjust it to make sure that it does meet the specs for publication. But there are other subtleties that need to be addressed that a lot of editors don't do. And this is why it is so important that you really have somebody who has years of experience, who knows what they're doing. And again, get an audiobook coach to help you with it, and make sure that, again, the coach is working with the editor, or, if you're working with me, everything's all in-house. So I do everything for you. When I do my editing, for example, okay, and I got over 22 years experience of just doing audio editing, as well as 30 years experience in the entertainment business. So you're getting experience, okay? You're getting what you need to produce high quality product, all right, when it comes to your audiobook. When I go through it, I listen to everything in real time, and I spend countless hours on every book. And I listen for things, not just for noises. And sure, I remove, mouth noises and other anomalous sounds that don't belong. But I also listen to your narration. And that's, the hybrid of being a coach and editor. Because I listen to things like, did you mispronounce a word? Did you slur a word? Did something not sound quite right? Is the pacing too fast or too slow? Is there a large gap between one paragraph to another? These are things that an editor is not really going to pay attention to. They're going to clean it up, make it fit to the specs for publication, and then say, okay, I'm done. You need more than that. Okay, you need someone who cares about your audiobook, who puts in the time and wants you to have the best audiobook possible. And the editing aspect is so important. And the other thing, again, that I do as an audiobook coach and producer, and in the program that I teach, is I upload your files for you. If you want to be uploaded exclusively on Audible, Amazon, and Apple, done. I upload it for you. If there are other distribution platforms that you want to be uploaded on, great. I do the uploading for you, because I want to make sure that your audio files not only sound great, but not only meet the exact specs, but if there are any issues at all. Sometimes a file will get rejected for, being 1 decibel too loud or too soft, something really minuscule. But you know what? I know about it. I know what needs to be fixed on that file, and I can address it immediately, output a new file, do a new upload, and I make sure that everything is accepted 100%. So you are guaranteed published 100% with no issues. Okay, so that is so important. All right. So we talked about a lot of audiobook myths. We dispelled a lot of myths and misconceptions about the audiobook world in this episode, from embracing your author brand, embracing your entrepreneurship. You're not a hobbyist, you are a professional. If you have a book that's been out for several years, that is more of a reason to turn it into an audiobook. It's not too old. The process doesn't take too long. If you enrolled in my audiobook coaching program, of course, you can get it done in 6 weeks. It is possible. Time is not an issue. You just need to manage your time, which is something we talk about. It is not a straight verbatim read. You do have the freedom to make your audiobook sound better for the listener, and by changing some things. Most of your book, of course, is going to be what you've written, but there are times where you do need to make some adjustments. What are the other myths? You don't need a perfect voice, right? You have a great voice, so embrace that great voice that you have. Editing is crucial, and marketing is crucial. There's so many things, but again, we covered a lot today in this episode. Now, if you are at all considering turning your book into an audiobook and you want to narrate it, as I say, another catchphrase, all nonfiction authors need to narrate their own audiobook, then please reach out to me. Schedule a call with me. It's a simple step. All right, let's talk about your book, because I talk to every client before I enroll anybody into my audiobook coaching program, because we are developing a business relationship, and I want to resonate with you just as much as you want to resonate with me. And again, everything is encompassed in the program. I teach you how to set up your recording space. I send you the professional recording equipment, which is one of the myths that we did dispel about using cheap equipment and not cutting corners. I send you the best of the best. It's yours to keep. Teach you how to set up your own recording space, and then teach you the fine art of narration and voiceover, how to do it right, how to be compelling, authentic, conversational, and being engaging for your listener from opening credits to closing credits, all the way through. All right. Then I teach you how to do marketing and how to get the book out there and how to get your audiobook out to the masses and how to promote it. Okay. That's part of what the program is about. But again, once you're done recording your audiobook, you send the files to me, and with my 22 plus years of experience with my audio editing business, you're getting the best of the best. So I will make sure that your audio files sound great, meet to the exact specifications, upload your files for you. So you know what? All the hassle and overwhelm and all that stuff has been removed. What you are concerned about is just doing a great narration. That's the beauty of having a coach and having an editor encompassed into one program. Okay. So if you want to book your call, reach out to me and you can go to robertlanecoaching.com. There's a book a call buttons everywhere on my website. Schedule your call. It goes to my calendar link directly. And you and I will speak and talk about your book. We'll find out about your goals, your marketing goals, how you want to do your distribution, and then get you enrolled. And by the end of the 6-week program, your audiobook is recorded, narrated by you, and published. It's great. All right. Simple thing. All right. So go to robertlanecoaching.com and you can find out more information there as well. And we'll get you enrolled. Okay. All right. So that pretty much wraps it up for today's podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. One thing that I do want to share with you, and I do this after every podcast, I do it after every live stream I do it after I do coffee chat on LinkedIn and on my YouTube page, which is at Robert Lane Coaching, and on my Instagram page, which is Robert Lane Coaching. I do coffee chat lives every Thursday morning. I give them this assignment, and I'm going to give it to you now as well. When you're out and about in the world, my friends, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, give them a compliment. You know what? Because that small gesture of kindness, all right, takes what, 5-10 seconds of your time? That small gesture of kindness can make the world of difference in somebody's life. Maybe someone's having a bad day, we all have them. And when a stranger comes up to you and just smiles and says hello, and it's genuine and it comes from the heart, you know what? That person will feel it. And that could be the best thing that happens to them on that day. So with that, my friends, go out and about with your business, write some great books, get in touch with me. Let's get your audiobook done. All right. Go to robertlanecoaching.com and be good humans. All right. We don't have enough of that in this world. So be good humans. That's going to wrap it for this edition of the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Again, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. You can follow me on Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn and all the social media. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. robertlanecoaching.com again, more information about the audiobook coaching program. And thank you so much for being a good human. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We'll see you next week, my friends. Take care.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode of Your Book, Your Voice, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.